Hong Kong Disneyland gives its best ever performance in the last fiscal year, with a whopping net profit of more than $830 million. A locally developed artificial intelligence tool powered by mainland's revolutionary DeepSeek chatbot is launched today and will soon be available for the public. And a falling chunk of concrete shuts down the Hong Kong-bound fast lane of the Cross Harbour Tunnel for almost 2 hours. Good evening, you're watching Cable News. I'm Quentin Yang. Hong Kong Disneyland has welcomed a record attendance of 7.7 million visitors in the fiscal year 2024 and saw its highest net profit of $838 million since opening its doors in 2005. Cheryl Yun has the details.
Marking the theme park's return to profit for the first time in a decade, Managing Director Michael Moriarty credited the success to a strong resurgence in mainland and overseas visitors, along with the continued support of local patrons.
We have generated historic results across the board with net profit of $838 million, representing a year-on-year improvement of $1.2 billion. A 54% increase in revenue to $8.8 billion. And along with prudent cost management, our EBITDA more than doubled to $2.3 billion. It truly has been a magical year for us. We are incredibly proud of the results that we've had and the positive impact that we've had on Hong Kong.
The robust performance has led to a 28% increase in cash and cash equivalents, amounting to $1 billion. Looking ahead, in celebration of its 20th anniversary, Hong Kong Disneyland is set to launch its largest ever parade titled Fantastic, alongside a special edition of the night show Momentous, scheduled to debut in June. The park will also expand its Marvel-themed area and create a new Pixar entertainment show, with construction slated to commence this year. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
In a landmark stride in Hong Kong's technology ambitions, the Hong Kong Generative AI Research and Development Center has unveiled its first locally developed artificial intelligence model, Hong Kong Guy V1, marking a milestone in the city's bid to shine in the global AI race. Bess Leung has the story.
Built on mainland's DeepSeek framework, Hong Kong Guy V1 is the world's first AI model to undergo full parameter fine-tuning, a technical process that tailors the system to Hong Kong's unique linguistic, cultural, and operational needs.
请问香港的3司15局指的是哪些？
The team achieved this in just a month, adapting DeepSeek's infrastructure to create a bilingual model with advanced dialogue and reasoning capabilities. At today's launching ceremony, developers showcased the model's versatility. Users can ask the AI to generate travel itineraries, draft meeting notes, and even retrieve hyperlocal information, all through simple voice or text commands. Beyond everyday uses, Hong Kong Guy V1 aims to transform key sectors. Guo Yike, Vice President of the Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, emphasized plans to deploy it in environmental and healthcare fields. Imagine AI cutting weeks-long environmental reports to hours or aiding doctors in diagnostics. This is just the beginning, he said. The government-backed initiatives aims to roll out a public beta by year-end, aiming to boost Hong Kong's innovation ecosystem. Innovation Secretary Sun Dong hailed Hong Kong Guy V1 as a triumph of local grift, invoking the city's lion rock spirit, a metaphor for resilience. From zero to hero in 18 months, we've written a new chapter in Hong Kong's innovation story, he declared. Bess Leung, Cable News.
A chunk of falling concrete narrowly avoided causing serious injury in the busy Cross Harbour Tunnel this afternoon, raising alarms over infrastructure safety in the critical underwater thoroughfare. The incident happened around 1 p.m. when a 50-centimeter-long piece of concrete broke loose from the ceiling near the Hongham entrance. The debris hit a private car in the fast lane, denting the vehicle, scratching its surface, and partially detaching the bumper. Miraculously, no injuries were reported. Tunnel staff directed the car's owner to drive to the Hong Kong Island exit before inspecting the vehicle. Police swiftly cordoned off the fast lane toward Hong Kong Island, deploying engineering vehicles to manage traffic snarls during the busy lunch hour. The lane reopened by 2:30 p.m. Investigations are ongoing to determine why the concrete loosened in the 50-year-old tunnel. The government is mulling a major legislative overhaul, introducing the Producer Responsibility Scheme in phases to tackle the city's growing plastic and beverage carton waste problem. Environment and Ecology Secretary Tsai Ching-wan said the government aimed for full compliance of the scheme within 6 to 8 years. Cheryl Yuan tells us more.
Speaking on a radio program, Environmental Chief Tsai Ching-wan emphasized that this market-driven approach, which shifts recycling accountability to manufacturers and importers, will provide flexibility and reduce costs. Under the proposed scheme unveiled last week, beverage suppliers, whether local producers or importers, must ensure the collection and recycling of their plastic bottles and cartons. Companies can either set up their own recycling systems or hire approved contractors. However, suppliers face penalties if recycling targets were not met. We are setting clear standards for recyclers, capacity, operations, and accountability, Tsai said. While the scheme aims to cut long-term costs through competition, industry leaders warn of short-term price hikes. Simon Wong, chairman of the Chamber of Food and Beverage Industry, noted that outsourcing recycling will likely push costs to consumers. Tracking every bottle or carton is impractical. Suppliers will rely on third-party recyclers and those fees will trickle down, he said, citing parallels to the city's glass bottle recycling program. Despite concerns, the PRS will roll out in 4 phases, starting with mandatory supplier registration and scaling up collection infrastructure. A key feature is a 10-cent rebate per returned container to boost public participation. They stress flexibility, saying that if recycling rates climb faster, the speed of implementation will accelerate. Cheryl Yun, Cable News.
Police raided a drug warehouse following the arrest of 2 men and seized $430 million worth of suspected cocaine. Acting on intelligence, police officers took action on Sunday, intercepting 2 men aged 22 and 23 at a Tuen Kwan O residential property, discovering 2 kilograms of cocaine in one man's bag, along with an additional 518 kilograms in their unit. Upon investigation, officers found that the drug, disguised as regular cargo, was smuggled into Hong Kong via a shipping freight from South America. The group has been renting a unit in Kwai Chung for drug processing and has been frequently changing locations and logistics and transport companies to evade detection. The 2 arrestees are charged with drug trafficking and will appear in Kwun Tong Magistrates Courts tomorrow. The United Nations Security Council adopted a U.S.-drafted resolution appealing for a swift end to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. However, the U.S. voted against another resolution floored in the UN General Assembly by European diplomats, which condemned Moscow's actions and supported Ukraine's territorial integrity. Sachin Katvi reports.
我现在将决议草案付诸表决。
Fu Kong, China's permanent representative to the United Nations, adopted a draft resolution calling for an end to the war in Ukraine without mentioning Russia's aggression. In the 15-member Security Council vote, 10 were in favor and there were 5 abstentions. Key U.S. allies, the United Kingdom and France, abstained after their attempts to amend the wording were vetoed.
С тем, чтобы эта инициатива в большей мере соответствовала пониманиям, достигнутым.
Welcoming the U.S. proposal, Vasily Nebenzia, Russia's permanent representative to the United Nations, said it was a step in the right direction. Earlier, European leaders gathered in the Ukrainian capital Kiev in solidarity to mark the 4th anniversary of Russia's invasion.
The suffering Russia has inflicted in Ukraine is cruel and unjustifiable. The presence of all of us here today is a demonstration of our solidarity with people of Ukraine and with you, President Zelensky. The European Union is ready to do whatever it takes for its security and to continue to support Ukraine.
Denying all negotiations which do not include Ukraine and the European Union, leaders from across the continent refuse to accept any peace deal agreed upon by Russia and the United States. The rift between the US and its European partners seems to be growing wider as Washington tilts in favor of Moscow. Sachin Karpi, Cable News.
While the United Nations was voting on Ukraine's future, French President Emmanuel Macron visited his US counterpart Donald Trump at the White House. Siding with Europe, Macron said any peace deal must not be a surrender of Ukraine and should be backed by security guarantees. Sachin Katvi again has the story.
After serious deterioration in transatlantic ties, both leaders were cordial, but their differences on how peace could be achieved in Ukraine was still rather obvious. Trump, being the businessman, said the US has got nothing despite supporting Kiev in the war, and America should get access to Ukraine's natural resources as a payback. Taking a pro-Europe stance, Macron said Russia should compensate Kiev and other nations who supported Ukraine in the war.
I support the idea to have Ukraine first being compensated because they are the ones to have lose a lot of their fellow citizens and being destroyed by these attacks. Second, all of those who paid for could be compensated, but not by Ukraine, by Russia, because they were the one to aggress.
The French leader also corrected Trump that unlike the US, 60% of European monetary support to Ukraine was not backed by guarantees.
Just so you understand, Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total effort, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be loan at the end of the day and Russia would have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
However, Macron and Trump agreed that after the war ends, European troops could be deployed in Ukraine as peacekeepers to offer security. Sachin Karpi, Cable News.
Now let's take a look at the stock market. The Hang Seng Index was down 307 points. Top active stocks of the day. Alibaba was down $5.10. Xiaomi was up $1.60. Meituan was down $7.90. SMIC was down 80 cents. The city's export trade grew for 11 months in January. The value of total exports of goods rose 0.1% year-on-year to $389.1 billion in January, after rising 5.2% in December, beating forecasts. Concurrently, import value grew by 0.5% over a year earlier to $387.1 billion, after a year-on-year decline by 1.1% in December, leading to a trade surplus of $2.1 billion. The government said the moderate year-on-year growth in export value was due in part to the different timing of the Lunar New Year. It would be more meaningful to examine the figures for January and February combined when available. Looking ahead, while uncertainties in the external environment, in particular escalating trade protectionism, would continue to weigh on export performance, steady global economic growth, together with the central government's various measures to boost the mainland economy, would provide support. On to the weather now. Overcast and a few rain patches tomorrow, with a minimum temperature of about 15 degrees. The weather will get damp and very humid in the latter part of the week, due to the onset of a moisture-filled maritime airstream. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our news tonight. I'm Quentin Yang. Thanks for watching and good night.